Okay, let's dive in. For decades, medicine, well, it's kind of relied on this idea of the average patient, right?
Yeah.
We base treatments, guidelines, everything on big studies showing what works for most people. And it's given us incredible progress, no doubt.
Absolutely. It's been foundational, but, it definitely has its limits.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. That drug that's a total game changer for your neighbor might do absolutely nothing for you.
Or worse, give you side effects.
Exactly. Or a screening test catches a risk for lots of people, but maybe misses it for someone specific. Or flags someone for, unnecessary procedures. Why? Because, well, nobody's truly average.
That's the key point, isn't it? You listening right now, you are profoundly unique. That this incredibly complex system built from your specific genes, your environment, how you live, your health history.
It's all woven together.
Yeah, into something that's just you.
And that's where this big shift is happening. Personalized medicine.
Yeah.
Or precision medicine, you hear that term too. It's about moving away from that average and aiming to tailor healthcare, the decisions, the treatments, prevention, specifically to your individual blueprint.
Like moving from off the rack.
To something totally bespoke, exactly. A medical outcome tailored just for you.
Bespoke medicine. I like that. And the engine that's actually making this level of tailoring possible, especially at scale, that's machine learning.
Fundamentally.
And based on our sources, this isn't some far-off future thing. As of 2025, ML is actively reshaping how healthcare can work for you.
It really is. And that's what we want to unpack in this deep dive, right? How machine learning is helping decode that unique blueprint of yours and enabling these, well, truly tailored health interventions.
Okay, so personalized medicine means tailoring to the individual. What does this blueprint, this unique profile, actually look like? What kind of data are we talking about?
Yeah, it's about capturing that complexity. It's not just one thing, it's layers, really. Layers of rich, diverse data. So you've got the foundational level. Your genomic data, that's your DNA, RNA, proteins. It holds clues about inherited risks, how your body might process certain drugs, maybe the specific drivers of a disease like cancer.
Your underlying code, basically. But that's just one piece.
Just one piece. Then you add your clinical data. This is probably what most people think of first, your electronic health records, right?
Mm-hmm. My history, labs.
Exactly. Medical history, diagnoses, lab results, imaging scans, vital signs, how you've responded to treatments over time. It's like the narrative of your health journey recorded in the system.
Genetics, clinical history.
Yeah.
But our health is shaped by so much more than just clinic visits.
Totally. And that's where lifestyle and environmental data come in. Super important. We're talking diet, exercise, sleep, stress levels.
Stuff you do every day.
Right. And also things like occupational exposures, where you live, think air quality, and even broader social determinants like income, education, access to resources. These things interact with your biology in, well, really profound ways our sources emphasize.
And then there's the data that many of us are generating constantly now.
But wearable and sensor data.
Okay.
Exactly. Smartwatches, fitness trackers, maybe a continuous glucose monitor if you have diabetes.
Right.
These devices give us this dynamic, real-time stream of physiological data, heart rate, activity levels, sleep quality, blood oxygen. It kind of fills in the gaps between those clinic visits. It's a much more continuous picture.
Wow. Okay, so you're saying we take all of that, potentially billions of genetic data points, years of clinical records, constant streams from sensors, plus lifestyle environment.
Yeah.
And trying to make sense of it all for one single person. That sounds impossible, just completely overwhelming.
And for a human clinician trying to do it alone, it basically is. The sheer volume, the variety, the speed of this data, it's staggering. You just can't manually sift through all that for every single patient and find all the subtle connections. And that is precisely why machine learning becomes, well, fundamentally necessary for personalized medicine. Our sources are clear. ML algorithms are built for this. They can process these massive, messy, multimodal data sets, find patterns and correlations way beyond what a human could spot, and build models that reveal insights specifically about you.
Okay, so ML is the engine that can actually handle the sheer complexity of all this individual blueprint data. How does it then, translate that into actual medical action? What are the big ways ML is changing care right now?
Yeah, translating insights into action, that's key. One really powerful area our sources highlight is using ML for predictive analytics, predicting disease risks.
Predicting potential health problems before they happen. maybe years before. That sounds like a massive shift.
It truly is. The idea is ML models get trained on these huge data sets where people have been followed over time. The models learn to identify these really complex signals.
Not just one risk factor, like cholesterol.
Exactly. Not just single factors, but the subtle interplay between maybe some genetic markers, slight changes in lab results over years, patterns from your wearable data, your lifestyle info, things that together indicate you might have an elevated risk for something years before symptoms would normally show up.
Okay.
And that lets us target preventative strategies, much more precisely to the individuals who stand to benefit the most.
Can you give us some examples? Where is this actually being used or developed right now?
Sure. We're seeing ML models being developed, and in some cases validated, for predicting individual risk for things like cardiovascular disease. They're looking beyond just the standard risk factors, integrating complex ECG patterns, maybe genetic data, to find people who might need earlier or more aggressive intervention.
Okay.
For type 2 diabetes, again, ML models are picking up on those early metabolic shifts, combining them with genetic and lifestyle info to flag people who could really benefit from intensive prevention programs. And for certain cancers, too, ML can help integrate inherited risks, family history, other clinical factors to personalize screening schedules. Maybe you need screening earlier or more often, or even suggest preventative measures if your risk is particularly high.
So it's not like a crystal ball predicting your destiny.
No, not at all. It's about identifying who is most likely to benefit from specific proactive, individualized strategies now based on their unique risk profile.
That really does shift the focus, doesn't it? From reacting to problems to actively preventing them based on your personal data. What about when someone already has a disease? How does ML help with treatment?
That's the next critical piece. Personalized treatment selection. It's all about trying to get it right the first time.
The right drug, right patient.
Right drug, right patient, right time, and crucially, the right dose.
So how does ML help make those calls?
Precision oncology is probably the leading example right now.
Yeah.
ML algorithms analyze the genetic fingerprint of a patient's tumor, its specific mutations, alterations alongside the patient's own genetics, and clinical history. And our sources show this really helps predict which treatments, maybe a targeted therapy, immunotherapy, even standard chemo, are most likely to actually work for that specific tumor in that specific patient. It helps avoid treatments that probably won't work or might just cause unnecessary toxicity.
So instead of just saying lung cancer and giving a standard treatment, the doctor uses ML to see the tumor's specific genetic weak points.
Exactly. It allows oncologists to match patients much better to therapies or even clinical trials based on those molecular details, like, using EGFR inhibitors for lung cancers that have specific EGFR mutations, or PRP inhibitors for cancers linked to BRCA gene mutations. That's happening now.
Are there other areas where our genes affect drug choices like that?
Definitely. That falls under pharmacogenomics. It's the whole field looking at how your unique genetic makeup influences how your body responds to drugs, how you metabolize them, how effective they might be, your risk of side effects. And ML models are getting much better at interpreting these individual pharmacogenomic profiles. They can help predict, say, how you'll likely metabolize certain antidepressants, which can guide the doctor's choice of drug and dose to hopefully get you feeling better faster with fewer side effects.
Avoiding that awful trial and error period you hear about sometimes.
That's the goal. Or another example, predicting your risk of a dangerous bleed if you need a blood thinner like warfarin or clopidogrel, based on specific gene variants you might carry.
Okay, that's huge for safety.
Yeah. And we're also seeing this applied in areas like autoimmune diseases. For conditions like rheumatoid arthritis or inflammatory bowel disease, ML is analyzing patient data to try and predict who is likely to respond to which specific, often very expensive, biologic therapy. Again, trying to avoid months of treatment that isn't actually helping.
And once you've picked the right drug, getting the dose fine-tuned is also critical, right? Especially for some medications.
Absolutely critical. And yes, ML helps there too in optimizing drug dosing and regimens. ML can personalize dosing by looking at a whole bunch of your individual factors together. Things like weight, kidney function, liver function, those genetic metabolism profiles we mentioned, maybe even real-time drug level monitoring data if available.
So it builds a model just for you.
Kind of, yeah.
Wow.
It builds models to predict the optimal dose and timing to get the best effect with the least toxicity. This is especially important for drugs with what we call a narrow therapeutic window, where the effective dose is really close to a toxic dose.
Where the margins for error are tiny.
Exactly. And, beyond just optimizing how we use the drugs we already have, ML is also speeding up the discovery and development of new therapies.
How did that work? Is it like finding new molecules?
Yeah, in a few ways. ML can rapidly scan enormous databases of chemical compounds and biological targets to identify potential drug candidates way faster than traditional lab screening methods. It can also predict the likely properties and potential effectiveness of new molecules, helping researchers prioritize which ones look most promising for further development. Saves a lot of time and resources.
Makes sense.
And one really interesting application our sources mention is drug repurposing. Using ML to sift through data and identify existing drugs already approved for one condition, that might actually be effective for a different disease based on their underlying molecular actions.
Oh, wow. So you could potentially skip some of the early development steps.
Potentially, yeah. It could dramatically shorten the timeline and cost of bringing new treatment options to patients, which is obviously a huge deal.
So ML isn't just personalizing current medicine, it's helping create the next generation of treatments faster. This all sounds incredibly powerful, but how much of this is actually impacting patients today in 2025? Is it mostly research or is it really in the clinic?
No, it's definitely making a tangible difference right now. Like we talked about, precision oncology is increasingly part of standard practice for many advanced cancers. Oncologists are using ML-powered tools, maybe embedded in genomic testing reports, to help interpret those complex results and match patients to targeted therapies or trials based on specific tumor mutations. Those EGFR and BRCA examples. That's real-world impact.
So it's moved beyond theory into actual cancer care decisions. What about pharmacogenomics? Are doctors really using genetic tests before prescribing?
It's happening, maybe not everywhere yet, but many forward-thinking hospitals and health systems are integrating pharmacogenomic testing. They might use ML-based decision support tools, for example, that flag a potential drug-gene interaction or recommend a different dose based on your genetic profile before the prescription is even finalized.
Like for antidepressants or blood thinners?
Exactly. Things like certain psychiatric meds, blood thinners, some pain medications. Our sources show this is helping cut down on adverse drug reactions, improve treatment success, and even potentially reduce overall healthcare costs.
That directly affects patient safety and how well treatments work. And what about all that real-time data from wearables we talked about? Is ML using that?
Oh, yeah. A great example is in personalized diabetes management. Continuous glucose monitors, CGMs, they generate this constant stream of blood sugar data, right? When you pair that with smart insulin pens or pumps, ML algorithms can analyze that data in real time. They can actually predict where your glucose levels are likely headed hours in advance.
Hours, wow.
Yeah, allowing you, or even automated systems, to make proactive adjustments, maybe take a bit more or less insulin, adjust your food intake. Some systems are even creating what they call closed loop or artificial pancreas systems, where the ML algorithm learns your individual patterns and automatically adjusts insulin delivery based on the CGM data.
That's like having an intelligent co-pilot helping manage your condition 24/7. Amazing. What about diagnosing really tricky cases?
ML is proving really valuable there too, especially for rare diseases. Diagnosing a rare condition can be incredibly difficult and take years. People talk about the diagnostic odyssey.
Right, going from doctor to doctor.
Exactly. Because there are thousands of rare diseases, many with overlapping or unusual symptoms. ML can help by analyzing a patient's entire complex picture symptoms, clinical features, imaging, maybe genomic data, and comparing it against vast databases of known conditions. It can help clinicians significantly narrow down the possibilities and get to the right diagnosis much faster.
That could be absolutely life-changing for those families.
It really can be. These examples definitely show that moving beyond the average patient isn't just a concept anymore. It's translating into real benefits for predicting, diagnosing, and treating conditions right now.
They really do drive it home.
Yeah.
Of course, implementing all this, it sounds incredibly complex. There must be some significant challenges to making this mainstream.
Oh, absolutely. Integrating these kinds of complex systems widely comes with, well, some major hurdles we definitely need to navigate carefully.
I can only imagine just handling all that incredibly sensitive health data, like genomic data.
Yeah.
That must be a huge concern.
It's paramount. Data privacy and security are absolutely critical. Protecting these vast amounts of highly personal information from breaches or misuse requires really sophisticated security measures, strong governance, encryption, maybe techniques like federated learning where the data stays local. Building and maintaining trust is essential.
And then making sure these complicated ML models are actually fair and work for everyone.
That's another huge one. Algorithmic bias and health equity. If models are trained primarily on data from one population group, they might not perform as well or could even be biased against people from underrepresented groups.
Right, which could actually make health disparities worse.
Exactly. So there's a huge need to ensure diverse data sets are used for training, rigorously test models for fairness across different groups, and be really mindful of potential biases creeping in.
And sometimes you hear about these algorithms making a recommendation, but it's like a black box. Nobody knows exactly why it made that choice.
That's the interpretability or explainability challenge. For clinicians and patients, too, to really trust and effectively use these insights, especially for big decisions, they often need to understand the reasoning behind an ML recommendation. So, developing explainable AI or XAI techniques for healthcare is a really active and important area of research.
Making the thinking visible, essentially.
Kind of, yeah. And then there's the whole regulatory side. How do bodies like the FDA or EMA validate and approve medical devices or therapies that rely on ML algorithms, especially ones that might continue to learn and change over time? They need agile, yet still rigorous frameworks for that.
That sounds tricky. And finally, what about the cost? All the sequencing, the AI tools. It sounds expensive.
It can be, and that brings up the challenge of cost and accessibility. We need to make sure these powerful, personalized approaches don't just become available to the wealthy or those in major academic centers. Ensuring equitable access, figuring out insurance coverage, integrating them into standard care pathways, that's crucial to prevent widening existing health gaps.
So, lots of challenges, technical, ethical, practical.
Definitely. Addressing them needs a real concerted effort from researchers, clinicians, ethicists, policymakers, patient advocates, everyone involved.
It sounds like there's a lot to figure out, but the potential payoff seems enormous. If we look further ahead, what's the ultimate vision here? How does personalized medicine, supercharged by ML, really change our individual health journey?
Well, the vision, it's pretty transformative. It paints a future where healthcare is fundamentally proactive and truly individualized right from the start.
From birth, even.
Potentially, yeah. Imagine a future where your unique health blueprint, your genetics, your evolving data is established early and used to guide preventative strategies precisely tailored for you throughout your whole life.
Catching things incredibly early before they even start.
Exactly, where potential health issues are flagged at the earliest possible stage, maybe even just at a molecular level, long before symptoms appear. This would allow for really early, maybe gentler, and much more effective interventions.
And if you do need treatment,
Then treatments are precisely matched to your individual biology, your genes, your tumor's profile, how you metabolize drugs to maximize the chance they'll work and minimize the risk of side effects.
less guesswork, less trial and error, less toxicity.
Precisely. And healthcare itself becomes more of a continuous adaptive partnership between you, your doctors, and these intelligent systems that learn and evolve with you as your health, your lifestyle, your environment changes over time.
That sounds like that P4 medicine idea you sometimes hear about.
Exactly. That's the vision. Predictive, preventative, personalized, and participatory. And machine learning is really a critical enabler for all four of those Ps.
And making that vision a reality, it really takes everyone working together, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It requires clinicians who are comfortable working with these ML insights, not just relying on old ways. It needs researchers constantly refining the algorithms, finding new biomarkers, data scientists building robust, fair, and secure models. And importantly, it needs patients like you to be active partners, understanding your data, participating in shared decision-making.
So this whole transformation, powered by machine learning, it's really about fundamentally changing the direction of healthcare. We're moving away from treating that hypothetical average person to a future where your unique individual blueprint guides your health journey every step of the way.
And the promise there is just immense, isn't it? Earlier, more accurate predictions, treatments that are more effective and safer for you, leading ultimately to better health outcomes, better quality of life. It really aims to make healthcare more precise, more proactive, and truly personal.
Yeah. And as these incredible capabilities continue to develop, it's just so clear that the hard work of ensuring data privacy, building ethical and fair algorithms, and making sure everyone can actually access these advances. That work is just as critical as the scientific breakthroughs themselves.
Absolutely. We have to harness this power responsibly for the benefit of everyone.
It's definitely an exciting and maybe slightly daunting time to be thinking about the future of health.
It really is.
So a final thought for you to consider: what is a future where healthcare truly sees your individual makeup, your unique blueprint? What does that really look like for your health journey? What questions does this rapid change bring up for you personally? And how might you start looking for trusted sources to stay informed as all this continues to unfold? Definitely something to mull over.